So if you are a regular subscriber to my channel, you may know that I like to flip watches, that I like to buy and sell watches. I don't always buy a watch with the intent to flip. However, sometimes I do, and I actually flip those for a profit. And there are some times where I flip them and I don't make money. So I do have some rules around flipping, around the buying and selling of watches that I do. And I wanted to share those rules with you guys. And I think they're really good rules to live by if you decide to buy and sell some of your watches with the intent to actually make a little bit of profit on it. Now, I don't buy watches as investments. I don't think they're really good investments unless you're buying really, really high-end watches, investing tons of money in them. However, there are really good watches out there that you can buy and end up selling for a profit, or at least the same amount of money that you paid for them without losing any money through that sale. So I'm going to give you some of those rules. I'll start with number one. I think that these are really good rules to live by, but the first rule that I always give: educate yourself on the watches you are planning on purchasing. And I say that because you should really know everything you can about the watches that you're buying. It doesn't matter if it's a Casio or a minute repeater. Know everything so that when you go to buy something, you're educated. You know before you buy what's going to actually happen if you try and sell it, if you decide to keep it. And I could give you a very good example of this. I bought a Edox minute repeater. Edox is sort of a mid-range, low-end brand. They make some Swiss watches, they make some non-Swiss watches, but they made a minute repeater using an ETA movement. And I'll throw some video of that watch up. It's a really cool watch that actually sold for around $5,000 on eBay regularly. However, someone listed one on eBay who normally sold much higher end watches, and he was selling this watch for $1,000. I put a bid on it and it sold to me for $1,000. And the reason why that sold that way is because he actually did not know it was a minute repeater. He did not put the word minute repeater in the auction, and it sold for $1,000. He just thought it was a cheap Edox, and $1,000 for an Edox is actually a lot of money. So he was asking for a little bit more than normal, but he didn't ask for the actual selling price. He didn't put the word minute repeater in it. When I went and picked up the watch, I actually picked up the watch in person, sat in a room with him. I hit the minute repeater button. It chimed out the minutes and the hours. He looked at the watch sideways, sort of, and then said, "Okay, well, enjoy the watch." And I said, "Thank you." And I walked out. I then literally took that watch. I wore it for a little while. I really wanted to keep it. However, I sort of was going back and forth. Do I want to keep this watch? Would I want to buy an Omega? Would I want to buy something different? And I ended up putting it on eBay, and I sold it for around $4,000 or $5,000 because I put better pictures up, and I actually mentioned that it was a minute repeater in the actual auction details. And that made all the difference in the world. And really, it was just education. I knew what the watch was. He didn't know what the watch was, mainly because he didn't deal with Edox in the past, I guess, and he made a big mistake and he did not list it right. So that brings me to rule number 2. Purchase with the intent to keep. Now, definitely educating yourself is very important. You should know if you're buying a fake watch or if you're buying a minute repeater or if you're selling a minute repeater. These are all very important things, but always purchase with the intent to keep. In other words, what I'm trying to say here is if you're purchasing a watch, it should be something that, number one, you're able to afford to actually keep it. So don't buy a $10,000 watch with the intent to sell it, even though you are not able to afford that $10,000 watch. So don't go into debt to buy the watch because you think you're going to be able to sell it. Always keep it in mind that you may not be able to sell the watch, so that you may have to actually keep this watch. So let it be something that you actually like. It should be a watch that you like. So if you're educating yourself on these watches, it should be watches that you like. Enjoy the flipping, enjoy the buying and selling of it. You get to own a watch for a short period of time that you really like, and then you could sell it eventually if you want to, and you could sell it for a profit or break even. However, if you're going to lose money on the watch and you don't end up wanting to sell it because you don't want to lose the money, you'll be happy to keep the watch in your own collection. That's what I mean by intent to keep. So buy something that you'd be willing to keep if you're not able to sell it. Very, very simple rule. And that's something that I've always done with all of my watches throughout the years of collecting and buying and selling. And I actually have watches in my collection that I have kept because I didn't want to take a loss on it. And then maybe eventually I sold them, but some of them I've actually kept and I'm happy to keep them. So that brings me to my next sort of rule in this watch flipping game. It is number 3. Selling is way harder than you think. And always keep this in mind. So selling a watch is a lot harder than you think. If you don't have a very large personal network of people who are looking to purchase watches all the time, almost like a dealer, whether it's on Instagram or somewhere else, you have to plan on losing 15% of your investment. So in other words, if you buy a watch for $75 and you're able to sell it on eBay for $100, you have to plan on $15 coming out of that. So you're not making $25. You're actually only making $10 because eBay takes a big chunk of that money. It's eBay, a combination of eBay and of PayPal. So PayPal also take a lot of money from you when you do make a sale. So it's hard. If you have a personal network that you could do a friends and family sort of deal in between two people who are obviously know and trust each other, then that makes more sense because you're not going to pay those exorbitant fees that Chrono24 and eBay charge. But then again, your audience will be way smaller and the chances of you getting the price that you're actually looking for your watch is going to be way smaller as well. So that's why putting things on eBay and Chrono24 exposes that sale to a lot more people. If you're using a small network of people that you have on Instagram, you're actually putting that out to a lot less people and it's a lot harder to sell. So I know a lot of people sell on Discord groups and Instagram and things like that. You're not getting top dollar for your watch that way. So the way you could get top dollar is by putting it on eBay. And it's a lot harder to sell through those smaller networks. It's just something to think about. eBay charges a lot of money, PayPal charges a lot of money, and these are the ways that you have to get paid. So last but not least, and one of the most important in my opinion, is after sales. And what I say by after sales is just like a dealer, just like a gray market dealer, just like a website that sells watches, if you are selling watches, you're going to need to offer some sort of after sales service. If someone purchases a watch from you and then 3 days later it stops working, you're going to need to take a return. It's just the way it is. If you want to build a reputation, you have to be able to take returns from people who have watches or you sold watches to that aren't functioning as intended to. And the problem is that sometimes, and I have been a victim of this, people try and return watches that are functioning the way that they should be, but they have changed their mind. And again, you need to take those returns. It's unfortunate. It's a pain. And sometimes they are returned and they're actually used now. And now you can no longer sell the watch as new. That happens all the time. And I have very good examples from eBay in particular. Now, this doesn't happen as much when you're using a personal network like Instagram or a Discord group like I mentioned before, but places like eBay, this happens very, very often. In fact, I recently sold a watch for around $350. The person kept that watch for about 4 months. eBay does not allow you to return a watch after 3 months. However, PayPal does after 6 months. So that person wore this watch for 4 months. They returned it to me, scratched and heavily used, and then I had to take that return. I had no choice. eBay didn't allow the return. However, PayPal did, so I had to take it. Otherwise, my PayPal account, I would get a strike against it and they would force the return anyway. So in other words, they allow the person to actually make the return once that tracking number is actually received and the person, the seller actually receives back that package. That is a return. The money goes back to the buyer and that is it. It's done. And in fact, in some cases, PayPal will actually charge you a $15 fee for that return. It's ridiculous, but they do it. So after sales is a very big consideration. So you need to be able to accept returns and accept losses through those returns because people aren't always on the up and up. And some people are, and they're returning the watch, but it still won't be in the exact same condition. So you need to be honest, and that's just the way it is. If you want to have a reputation, you want to get positive feedbacks on eBay, or if you want to have a good reputation in your Discord group or Instagram or wherever it might be, you need to be on the up and up. You need to accept returns. You need to be really good about these things. Otherwise, you get a bad reputation and you won't be able to get top dollar. It's just a really a circle in the watch flipping, sort of watch buying and selling community. That's just the way it is. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. I've been doing this for a very long time, for around 20 years. I love getting watches in. I usually have the intent to keep them, but then I end up selling them for one reason or another to purchase another watch or whatever it might be. I usually like to make money on those purchases, so that's why I pay attention to what I'm buying. I buy at the best price that I can, and then I try and sell at the best price that I can, which makes sense, and that's what everybody really should be doing. But tell me what you think in the comments below about my rules. Is there anything that you guys would add here? I definitely want to hear from you guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next